Namaskar, dear devotees and friends. The Wednesday evening, and we'll be discussing about the Panchama Veda, reading and a bit discussion. So let us begin as usual with this mantra. Tava kathamritam tapta jivanam kabibhirilitam kalmashapaham Sravanamangalam Srimadatam Bhubi Ginanti E Bhurida Janaha. We were reading from the chapter The Master and Narendra. So we will be reading from the page 710. There was a king who used to listen daily to a Pandit's exposition of the Bhagavata. Master is discussing with the devotees. Narendra was there. So why the name of this particular chapter has been given Master and Narendra? I think the Sri Ramakrishna is giving extra attention to this young man, Narendra. So he is telling in this way, the worldly people attached to with the worldly objects and worldly things, they cannot completely dedicate to the spiritual life and cannot realize the God. Actually, there are two things. One is God, another the creation. If you go to God, you have to leave the creation. And if you go for the creation, God's creation, this world, then there is no chance of realizing God. So that is the main thing. The Sri Ramakrishna is mentioning in this way, a man wanted to engage a Pandit who could explain Bhagavata to him. Why Bhagavata? Because Bhagavata is a very popular scripture. And usually the mainly that our Veda and the Upanishads, they were read and discussed by some sannyasis, scholars. Bhagavata was for each and everyone. So mainly the 10th skanda of the Bhagavata, which is the biography life of Sri Krishna, we can say. So the Bhagavata. So he wanted to listen from Bhagavata. His friend said, I know of an excellent Pandit, but there is one difficulty. He does a great deal of farming. Now, one who is going to explain the Bhagavata, and if he is engaged in the worldly things, so that is he is mentioning in this way. He has 4 plough and 8 bullocks and is always busy with them. He has no leisure. Thereupon the man said, who wanted to engage the Pandit, I don't care for a Pandit who has no leisure to study, to meditate, and what to talk about the expounding. Then Sri Ramakrishna mentioning, continuing on the same thing, there was a king who used to listen daily to a Pandit's exposition of the Bhagavatam. Every day at the end of their study, the Pandit would ask the king, O king, have you understood what I have read? To this question, the king would daily give the same reply, Sir, you had better understand it first yourself. So, king, he knew the whole thing. Now, who is reading the Bhagavata, he is reading only to please the king and to get some money from him. So, when he is telling, have you understood it? The king in reply is telling, you better understand better. Correctly. Each day when the Pandit returned home, he would ponder the meaning of the king's words. He was a pious man devoted to prayer and meditation. Gradually, it came to his senses and realized that the real thing in the world is the lotus feet of God. and that all else is illusory. He felt dispassion for the world and took up the life of a monk. Now, God and His creation. If you, in the Bhagavata, it will give both. That is our choice. If we go to the world, His creation, we can enjoy for some time, but most of the time it will be the miserable. And we go on experiencing that misery, then one day we can understand, oh, we are trying to find out the joy, the peace, the happiness, but this is not the place. So that is what Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna is mentioning. Then you have to go towards the God. Temporary enjoyment, some name and fame, and your ego is boosted up, ego is fanned, is okay. Then this world is okay for you. But if you go for the permanent happiness, joy, peace, and know again and again coming and taking the birth and then suffering and dying, if you can understand that, if you have realized that, then the way that is, you have to dispassion. As he was leaving the world, he sent a man to the king with the message, "Yes, O king, now I have understood." Through this too, now Naren has come. Naren is sitting before him. Naren, in his life, the changes are coming. He is facing the terrible poverty. He is thinking that he should earn some money to support his mother, his brother and sister, his family. At the same time, he is realizing that the futility of this world. So he was such a nice teacher, we can understand. His understanding was so clear. Even then, when he was appointed as a teacher in a school, Vidyasagar school. Vidyasagar's daughter's husband, his son-in-law, he made a false accusation against the Narendra because he was so popular teacher. And this man couldn't accept that. So with the false accusation, and Vidyasagar never inquired because the son-in-law is telling he accepted that, and Naren was fired. He had to leave that job. He realized this world slowly through his experiences. Then the friends and all others, when he was a rich man's son, all these people were with him. Now that all his relatives were also so good at that time, when his father passed away, when there was no support, and his own father's brother, uncle, he took away all the property. They were in a great difficulty. The young man of only 22, 23, and he was thinking what to do and what not to do. He never thought about all this. So we can understand that is the situation. At the same time, the Master Mahashaya will mention that something happened in his life and he realized the futility of this world and he wanted to renounce. So that is why Sri Ramakrishna is giving so much of attention to this young boy, and only to give him the hint. This world is like this. If you want permanent peace, joy, happiness, if you want to be merging with the eternity, then you have to renounce. So he is telling the story. But at the same time he is telling, I do not look down on worldly people. But do I look down on the worldly people? Of course not. Sri Ramakrishna is asking this question, at the same time giving the answer. Now here also the indication that you need not to think that the whole world, everything is rotten. This temporary. If the people are happy with the temporary things, it is okay. Like the children, they are very happy when they are playing with the dolls and the toys. It is okay for them. We should not snatch those out of the children, hands of the children. Oh, these are dolls and these are all temporary. You should not play with this. That will be very the unthinking way working. No, it is not that. It should be that people who like to enjoy this world, let them enjoy. And when they are there, are we going to criticize them, hate them? Not at all. That is exactly what Sri Ramakrishna is telling. And then he is using a wonderful phrase. He said, I apply the knowledge of Brahman, the oneness of existence. The Brahman itself has become everything. All are Narayana himself. Brahman, at the same time he used the word Narayana, the duality, the God. Now when we read the Bhagavata, we find that the same thing it is in the Bhagavata. It says, those who are following the path of knowledge, they say their goal is Brahman. Those who are following the path of duality, they say their goal is Bhagavan. Those who are practicing yoga, they say it is Paramatma. All three are the same. In the Bhagavata, it is very clearly mentioned. That is why Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna is mentioning the Brahman and the Narayana. So, when he is mentioning like this, he is giving the indication, the hint, that we have to live in this world, and the world will always remain like this. And we cannot all the time hate. But if you apply the viewpoint of the Advaita Vedanta, that everything is nothing but the consciousness in different names and forms, I am not going to hate them. But my purpose is to realize the Brahman. That I should do. Alas, I find no customers who want anything better than the kalai pulse. The kalai pulse, one type of pulse is that with that paste they prepare one type of sweet. The cover is good, but inside it is only that cheap, the pulse. The people, they like it, ordinary people, because it is cheap, they can afford, so they like it, but the taste is not that good. So that is the why he is mentioning, alas, I find no customers who want anything better than kalai pulse. No one wants to give up lust and gold. The desire, and to satisfy the desire, wealth. So this is going on and on and on. There are so many people, every time, in every era you will find, they are cheating the thousands of people, millions of people just to become rich. In the 15th, 16th century, the kings, they used to do like that. They will be sending out the dacoits and the pirates, and with that money, half portion the king will get. By that way, they used to become the great king, barons and all that. So, and in our countries also, the landlords, that there was no rain, people could not, ordinary people couldn't develop any cultivation was not there, how they can pay the taxes. But that on anything, that they will go and bid them and snatch away everything, the little thing that they were having. All of Europe and Asia, if you see, that is the picture. Why? Lust and gold. Even today, if you look at, it is going on in the same way, the lust and gold. So if the lust and gold is the final thing, then what will happen? Misery, ultimately. You cannot get joy, the happiness, and people will never remember you with great respect. They will hate you all through. But still then, the desire is so, people cannot control. So that is called worldly people. Man, deluded by the beauty of woman and the power of money, forgets God. But to one who has seen the beauty of God, even the position of Brahma, the Creator, seems insignificant. The beauty of God. here they say that when we see that beauty of the external beauty of something, we get attracted. But if we can imagine the one who has created this beauty, how beautiful he will be. So the God's beauty, after the realization of the God, whoever has realized him in whatever way, they are all so happy. Apparently it looks so ordinary because they are not having any that way or the hearth and home or social status or money. But majority of them, they were apparently very ordinary people in this world, and depending on the alms, they'll be going to house for begging for their food, and people, oh, the ordinary man, he can't work, he is living only on our help. But that man was so happy within. The years after years, he will be closing his eyes and enjoying. And when he is moving, wherever he is going, to whomever he is talking with, they are all very happy. So that shows the happiness, that happiness is God. And it seems insignificant because the Brahma, the firstborn, the creator, even that position becomes insignificant. If the God comes and says, do you want me or the position of the Brahma? And the real person, he will say, I want you, God. A man said to Ravana, you have been going to Sita in different disguises. Why don't you go to her in the form of Rama? But Ravana replied. So this is how Sri Ramakrishna is putting it. Sita was abducted by Ravana, and Ravana wanted to tempt her. He was not forcing. So that is the good thing that going on in a different forms he will go. Ravana, maybe the Sita was afraid to see that form, so Ravana will give in different form. But Sita could understand that this is Ravana again, so she used to refuse. When Sita refused, Ravana will come back, and this was going on. Maybe some of his the ministers were telling like this, why don't you go in the form of Rama? If you go in the form of Rama, Sita will accept you. Then the Ravana is telling, when I meditate on Rama in my heart, the most beautiful woman, celestial maiden like the Ramba and Trilottama, appear no better than ashes of the funeral pyre. Then even the position of Brahma appears trivial to me, not to speak of the beauty of another man's wife. So Ravana, he was a devotee of Sri Ramachandra, Vishnu, and he knew the Rama is nothing but Vishnu. Only to get liberation quickly, he was practicing in that way. That is the one type of the practice, a spiritual practice, making the God his enemy. That is also there in the Shastra. You can meditate on God, or you can try to realize God by thinking that he is your enemy. As they have suggested that you can think God as your son, as your friend, or as your master, like that also. The Ravana practiced that way. That is dangerous, that is terrible. But at the same time, on a very short time, you will get the liberation. So he used to meditate on Sri Ramachandra. Alas, I find that all the customers here seek worthless kalaipals. Unless the soul is pure, it cannot have the genuine love of God. Unless the soul is pure, here the soul means Jivatma, the Atman is always pure. But when it mentioned different in meaning, that same word has been used. When the soul is pure means there is no desire for the worldly things. That is purity. There is no desire for the worldly things. The purity and impurity, again and again it comes in the spiritual life. In all the religions they will be discussing in this way only, purity and spiritual and impurity, and in different way they explain. But one thing is very clear: if you are thinking about the worldly objects, like to enjoy the worldly objects, then your mind is impure. But if your mind is pure, then you are thinking only about the God. And he says, unless the soul is pure, it cannot have genuine love of God and single-minded devotion to the ideal. The mind wanders away to various objects. Friends, this is actually the core of Hindu religion. The Hindu religion, they of course follow so many varieties, thousands of varieties, rituals, but it is only apparent. Different type of things are happening. Those who are looking at that, they can't reach to the core of the Hinduism. And the Hinduism says that God is the only existence, and God is not two, it is one. And everything has been manifested to the God, from the God. So that is the core of Hinduism. And it says, Tyage naike amritatmanashu. Unless and until you are renouncing, giving up the desire for the worldly objects, you cannot get the bliss of that God, if we say God or the Brahman. So that is the core. So what, on all other things that we do, reading the scripture, visiting the holy places, fasting, and also performing different type of rituals. If you go to India or search in Indian culture, there's so many varieties will be there. Hundreds and thousands of varieties of the way they are practicing. But at the same time, the ultimate goal is you have to take a decision, God or His creation. If you take up the creation, you have to wait for the realization of the God. A little joy, a temporary joy, you have to be satisfied with that. And a lot of miseries and a lot of effort, all those things will drag you again and again, and there will be no rest in it. But if you take the God, in the beginning, you have to have a good fight with your own mind, because the nature, the prakriti, the maya, it will drag you down to those worldly things. If you can somehow give up that, now enough, I have understood it. I know what is this world. I have seen the grandfather, grandmother, mother, father, all my relatives, every day someone is passing. I have seen it. I know that I too am going to die. Enough is enough. I constructed the huge building, thinking in every room there will be my children and my grandchildren. The whole house will be vibrated with all the words, and there will be big kitchen, so many dreams. Now it has become a terrible thing. In that big building I am alone living, no one around. So these are the ways you have to judge, you have to understand, and you have to go on telling, enough my mind, give it up, give it up. If you even don't give up, then the prakriti one day will take you out, and your soul will be taken out, and it will go to another body, and then from that body you won't be getting the access to your property that you have accumulated in this life. This really terrible thing. So this is the way, if you think, then it becomes easy to give up. Whatever is necessary for this life, I will keep, and slowly I will distribute. And when the day will come, my mind will be completely free from everything. My ego will vanish, and then no desire will be there except one. God, I want to see you. Please reveal thyself before me. So that is the way one should get ready. How can a man living in the midst of lust and gold realize God? It is very hard for him to lead an unattached life. Then it says in this way, and slowly Sri Ramakrishna now giving another story. We don't know whether it was there in the history or not. It's just, different stories they come, and they utilize these stories to give a spiritual teaching. When Akbar was emperor of Delhi, there lived a hermit in a hut in the forest. That is the story. The Akbar is a very famous the king in Indian history. So many people visited the holy man. One time he felt a great desire to entertain his visitors. But how could he do so without money? So he decided to go to the emperor for help. For the gate of Akbar's palace was always open to holy men. The hermit entered the palace while the emperor was at his daily devotions and took a seat in a corner of the room. He heard the emperor conclude his worship with the prayer, "O God, give me money, give me riches," and so on and so forth. When the hermit heard this, he was about to leave the prayer hall. But the emperor signed to him to wait. When the prayer was over, Akbar said to him, "You came to see me. How is it that you were about to leave without saying anything to me?" "Your Majesty need not trouble yourself about it," answered the hermit. "I must leave now." When the emperor insisted, the hermit said, "Many people visit my heart, and so I came here to ask you for some money." Then said the Akbar, "Why were you going away without speaking to me?" The hermit replied, "I found that you too were a beggar. You too prayed to God for money and the riches. Thereupon I said to myself, why should I beg of a beggar? If I must beg, let me beg of God." This is the beautiful way the Sri Ramakrishna is telling that hermit was not asking money for himself. He wanted to develop maybe a food kitchen so that the people who are visiting them, he could give some the food to them. That is always the holy people, they always want to serve the people like that way. But when he heard that the Akbar himself is asking for money and the property, then he told it is better to ask of God. There is a beautiful song, very recent song, Data Ek Ram. That is the song some famous singer he sang, the Data Ek Ram. The giver is only Rama. Who else will give you? So if you have to ask anything, you must go to God. Most of the time when the devotees they come with the prayer, we always say you better go directly to God and sit before in the shrine, sit before that picture and talk to God. Tell him, tell the mother also that these are the things that are happening in my life, in my family, and I want your guidance, I want your help, what to do. They are like the father and the mother. If you go and talk to them, your prayer will be naturally answered. If it is good that things will be all right for you, the prayers will be answered. Have faith. So that is the God. If you go and ask, God, I am doing this and I need some money. So that is the teaching. If you want anything, better go to God than to anyone else. Narendra, nowadays, Narendra is telling, nowadays Girish Ghosh thinks of nothing but spiritual things. Now those who are attending this class and reading with me this gospel, the Sri Ramakrishna, the last time we read, mentioned that Girish is a worldly person and he did all those worldly things. So naturally, realization of God is difficult for him. And that Sri Ramakrishna, he was God, so naturally he told that truth on the face of Girish also. Girish was hard, but at the same time Girish had great respect for Sri Ramakrishna and faith. He asked, is it possible that I will become pure? That he used that the way that if you put the garlic paste, that container will be naturally having the smell of the garlic. So by that way he mentioned that Girish has done so many things in this world, so naturally in his mind those will be there. And those pure-hearted people, the young people, those never experienced these worldly things, should not go there, should not have those ideas. The mind will be clean. So that is the Sri Ramakrishna's idea. But the Narendra used to go to Girish because Girish was a very intellectual person and Narendra was very intelligent. He wanted to have some discussions. You cannot always talk and get satisfaction talking with the people who is not having that type of intellectual level. So Narendra used to go to Girish to have that type of discussion. Sri Ramakrishna came to know about this and Sri Ramakrishna said it is better not to go. It is very difficult. Once it is the smell comes of the garlic, it is very difficult to go away with that. An indication of the worldliness. So Narendra was keeping that in mind. Now when all these things were going on, he suddenly mentioned this. Nowadays, Girish goes thinks of nothing but spiritual things. Narendra was also very sincere. So Narendra used to go to Girish only to discuss about different type of spiritual thing. So he mentioned, Master, like a mother protecting her child, the Sri Ramakrishna is telling, this is very good. But why is he so abusive? Why does he use such vulgar language to me? In my present state of mind, I cannot bear such rudeness. When a thunderbolt strikes near a house, the heavy things inside the house are not much affected. But the window panes rattle. Nowadays, I cannot bear such roughness. A man living on the plane of Sattva cannot bear noise and uproar. That is why Hriday was sent away. It was the Divine Mother who sent him away. During the last part of his stay, he went to extremes. He became very rough and abusive. To Narendra, do you agree with Girish about me? Now, Sri Ramakrishna is a great teacher. He could understand the psychology of the Narendra. So directly he is not mentioning that you should not go over there. Rather indirectly, the moment you directly say no, there is naturally action and the reaction comes. So he is giving the hint that he is very abusive type of person and he uses very vulgar languages against me too. That is true. Sri Ramakrishna used to love Girish Chandra very much. But Sri Ramakrishna is loving to Girish and trying to help him to become pure and realizing God, that is a different thing. But if another person, a novice, going to such people and they discuss with them, their mind will be colored. There is a possibility. There's sometimes here also in America is a free country, you can say like this, when the novices come, we always say, it is better for you to be little alone. Otherwise what happened, the different type of people they come, when they see the novice, and particularly American boys, they will be going and talking. They themselves have not realized anything. They are bogged down in that worldly, but still they will talk about the spirituality, mostly just book reading and some discussion, and they will go on referring, oh, he is a very good speaker, and that type of books are better. This is, there's a great sage was there. So like this new boy who has come to learn something, and his minds get scattered. And sometimes when they go and talk with other people also, that happens. That's why this is our experiences. The new recruits are coming, new boys are coming, and they are, when the different type of influences, they cannot resist it. And in America, naturally, they are very open to those things. They will be talking with them, debating with them, and by that way their mind will be colored. And those people will be referring different type of books and journals and talks, lectures. By that way, the mind gets out completely scattered, and after some time they feel, oh, this is not my path. They go away. Unfortunate. It needs to follow minimum 10 years. In the first, we are carrying the load of our previous births. So we are already overburdened with that. The different type of desires are there, misunderstandings are there. And then in this life also, when we are coming to the spiritual life, mostly after 24, 25, 30. So naturally, in this life also, so many experiences, so many things we have heard, and regularly in the newspapers and all the going on, pouring this type of newses. It's very difficult to get those things refined and take the original thing. So that's why they say you should be completely aloof from the worldly objects at minimum 10 years. So when you get settled in that, then you come out, talk with people, mix with people, and you hear, read, listen. Your idea is clear, so there will be no problem. Your ship will sail, your boat will sail properly. Here also Sri Ramakrishna is trying to protect the Narendra. He is not criticizing Girish. He loved Girish so much. He appreciated Girish. But at the same time, this is the idea. Now he is asking Narendra, do you agree with Girish? What he says about me? Narendra, he said he believed you to be an incarnation of God. I didn't say anything in answer to these remarks. This is the remarks Narendra said, because he was not sure about it. So look at this, the young man, Narendra, who will become Vivekananda afterwards. This Narendra, he said, as Girish remarked that you are an incarnation, I didn't give any other reply to that. So this is the master, but how great his faith is. Don't you think so? Sri Ramakrishna wanted to get the reply from Narendra. So, that is rubbish, I don't think that should be. So, devotees listen intently to the master's words. He was still seated on the mat spread on the floor with him by his side and Narendra in front of him. Devotees were sitting around. A few minutes silence, he said to Narendra tenderly. Now, very directly, he is giving the instruction. My child, you will not attain God without renouncing lust and gold. This is very clear. My child, you will not attain God without renouncing lust and gold. So that if you want the realization, you have to renounce. And how you can renounce? Sri Ramakrishna himself suggested the sannyasins externally and internally, and for the householders internally. Externally they are having, but there is no connection, completely detached way they should live. So that is the wonderful teaching. So Sri Ramakrishna is stating to him. As he said, the great emotion welled up in his heart. Fixing on Narendra, an earnest and tender look, he sang. The Master Moshe, here I like to read this, the note that has been given by the publisher. The Narendra, this was very critical period in Narendra's life. This is not the Master Moshe that he recorded. It is not, but our publisher is mentioning, giving this. After his father's death, he had been faced with extreme poverty. Friends and relatives had proved indifferent or treacherous. His rational mind could not reconcile the existence of human misery with the mercy of God. A few days before his meeting with the Master, on his way home, almost exhausted after a futile search for a job, he had sat down on the open porch of a house by the street, waiting for the shower of rain to pass. There he had received a revelation in which he had found the solution of all the conflicting problems. The revelation that happened, the wonderful, that means there, sitting over there, he solved the problem. He had felt refreshed, realizing the unreality of the world, and had determined to become a monk at once. So he had come to Sri Ramakrishna, the Master, to take leave of him, but had not told him of his intention. Yet nothing could be hidden from Sri Ramakrishna. Hence he sang. Now Sri Ramakrishna indirectly giving the hint that this is very clear, that young Narendra decided to become a monk then and there. He only came just to touch the holy feet of Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna, and then he will leave. Sri Ramakrishna realized that he is going to leave. So he is singing, we are afraid to speak, and yet we are afraid to keep still. In Bengali, the song is, Kotha bolte dorai, na bolleo dorai. Dorai means fear. We are afraid. We are afraid to speak, and yet we are afraid to keep still. Our minds, O Radha, have believed that we are about to lose you. Mone shandeho hoy, pache toma dhane, harai harai. The Sri Ramakrishna understood that he is going to leave, and he was a very strong mind, that young man. So if he becomes a monk, wandering monks, and goes away, Sri Ramakrishna, he was thinking he should become a monk, but not now. He should first experience and go under the training. Then only he should become a monk. Without the training, proper training, and clear understanding about the monastic life, if one becomes monk, it is a confusion all through in his life, and he brings down the ideology too. The one should be very, very careful before becoming a monk. So Sri Ramakrishna is hinting. He seemed to be afraid lest Narendra should leave him. Narendra looked at the Master with tears in his eyes. This is the first time that we listen, we hear, we read, Narendra is crying. The tears in his eyes is looking at the Master. A visitor who was there for the first time heard and saw all this. He said to the master, so this is very funny, Sir, if one must renounce lust and gold, then what shall a householder do? Now, those who are acquainted with Sri Ramakrishna, Narendra, and they were knowing actually what is happening, this fellow, he never knew what is there. He was a new visitor. When he heard the Sri Ramakrishna is singing that song, Narendra is crying, and the things were in that mood, suddenly he is telling, if everybody they give up the world, then what will happen to this world? The master is telling, here, you may enjoy lust and gold. What has passed between us is no concern of yours. So this is very clear. Adhikari. Adhikari means if a person is not ready to realize God, when his mind is still full with the hankering for the name, fame, and worldly comforts, then for him these teachings are not necessary. He won't understand this, rather he will misunderstand. That is okay for them. But for Narendra, who understood it, realized it, a revelation came within him, for him completely different. That's why Sri Ramakrishna is telling that this is our in between us. You may enjoy lust and gold. What has passed between us is no concern of yours. Mahimacharan, a householder devotee, heard everything and sat speechless. Mahimacharan, he was also a devotee, but he used to feel that renunciation is not necessary. Many of the religion, they don't believe that one should become a monk. There are many spiritual faiths are also there. They don't believe in that. They think one should become a householder, have the wife or the husband, and like this, like that. This monastic idea is completely different. In the Catholic, the church, in the Catholic Christianity it is there, Hinduism it is there, Buddhism it is there. And majority, they don't believe in it. The Protestant Christians, they don't believe in monastic life. The Muslims, they don't believe in monastic life. And the many are the people also, they don't believe. It is only, so obviously, it's a very rare type of thing. The living in the world but not of the world, not getting the attention, the attraction, all those things, that is completely different type of mentality. They are very special type of people, and this is because of their past karma. The Sri Ramakrishna is giving that. Mahimacharan, though he used to all the time advocates that people should marry, etc. Mahimas, here we find this, the Mahimacharan, he is talking about, told Sri Ramakrishna many a times, but here he is quietly sitting. Master to Mahimacharan, go forward, push on, you will discover the forest of sandalwood. Go farther, and you will find the silver mine. Go farther still, and you will see the gold mine. Do not stop there. Go forward, and you will reach the mines of rubies and diamonds. Therefore I say, go forward. Now, Aitareya Upanishad, there is a word charaibeti, charaibeti. And that word has been used in many places. The Sri Ramakrishna is telling, go forward, march forward. When I took church over here in the Chicago, that was the March 4th. Someone afterwards, I have forgotten who, very nicely he put that word, that Swamiji, now it is time for you to march forward, March 4th, to march forward. So that is the way, the march forward, we have to constantly go on. Mahima, he has read lot of scriptures. Those who are reading the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, you have seen them many a times, Sri Ramakrishna asking him to quote from different scripture, and immediately all memorized. He is quoting and singing and then chanting. Sri Ramakrishna was very fond of him. But the Mahimacharan had the idea that people, everyone should become householder. Now when he heard this, saw this, the how Sri Ramakrishna is teaching Narendra, he became grave. He was thinking. Sri Ramakrishna advised him to go forward. You have risked a lot, but unless and until you give up the world mentally, you cannot realize God. Blessed are those who are pure in heart, for they shall see God. Jesus said. It is oft quoted. But what is that purity? No desire for the worldly objects. Then Mahima, but sir, something holds us back. We cannot move. Something holds us back. The hold us back means our responsibilities. So we are committed to so many things. So obviously we cannot do that. Master with a smile, Sri Ramakrishna with a smile. Why? Cut the reins, cut them with the sword of God's name. The shackles of Kala, time, are cut by Kali's name. That means you have to judge, you have to discriminate, and slowly, slowly you have to detach yourselves. The many of our devotees, I have found that they are there, they have their children, their grandchildren, but slowly, slowly they are withdrawing. That much attention is not there, attachment is not there, love is there, concern is there. They go to them, talk to them, take care of them, pray for them, but not the way that without them they will die. No, not that attachment. So that is because they could understand the teachings of Sri Ramakrishna. As he is telling to Mahimacharan, cut them slowly with the vichara. Time will come when you will die and you have to go from this world. Where will be your so-called family? Do you think they will all die without you? No, nothing will happen to them. They will live their life. If we judge in that way, how much important I am, without me, everything is going to stop? Nothing. We only think that without us nothing will move. It is nothing like that. That's why Swami Vivekananda said to the monks, think yourself blessed that you have been chosen for the job, for the work. Don't think you are the only person that you can do. No, nothing like that. Anyone can do, if the blessings of God is there. About the worldly attachments, when I was not born, this family were there. When I will die, this family will be there. So if we think in this way, then the detachment will come. Then the Sri Ramakrishna is talking with. Every now and then Master cast his gracious look on Narendra. He said, have you now become the experienced physician? So suddenly when he is telling like this, that there is a reference. Unless we understand the reference, we won't understand why suddenly Narendra has nothing to do with the medical physician. Here it says, quoting a Sanskrit verse, he said, Shatam Mari Bhaved Vaidya. It's a funny way. It says that Shatam Mari Bhaved Vaidya Sahasra Mari Chikitsaka. Then if you have killed 100 people, then you will be considered as a Vaidya. That means you have to gain experience. And Sahasra means 1,000. When you have killed while giving the treatment 1,000 people, then you are a Chikitsaka. That means you are a very experienced person. Quoting that, Sri Ramakrishna is hinting to Narendra, whose age was hardly 22 years. And he said, have you experienced this world? Then he said, was the master hinting that Narendra, even though still young, had had many painful experiences of life? Narendra smiled and kept silent. He understood it, but he never gave any answer. Friends, we will conclude over here, and we will try to remember what Sri Ramakrishna is teaching. The Sri Ramakrishna is saying in this way that you have to give up the worldly attachment. When you are in the world, already in the householder's life, then you should give up mentally, understanding the futility of this world, understanding that the life is short, understanding that everything will be all right even you are not there, then you should give up. So that is the preparation. And those who are fresh, young mind, not very much attached with the worldly things, for them Sri Ramakrishna is telling that don't get attached to this. That means the decision is ours. If we go for the world, God won't be with us. And if we go for the God, which is eternal, ever blissful, in the beginning it is very difficult to realize, but if we continue withdrawing all our senses from the sense objects, living in this world, but not getting attached to these, then ultimately it will be a great experience of realization of the God. It is possible. God realization is possible. Thank you, friends. There's a question?
Yes, one question. The first question is from Birendra Majumdar. He is asking, question has been in my mind time and again, loitering in my mind. What is Vishishta Advaita Bhava? How is it different from Advaita and Dvaita?
See, this is a completely different question, and it's in a completely different, three different philosophy. And that Ramanujacharya, who propounded the Vishishta Advaita, in a very nutshell, simple way, we can say, Advaita means they believe there is only one existence and not two, or Dvaita. A Vishishta Advaita is a qualified, it is some speciality. What is that? I am different, but I am part of it. So, Advaita never believe about the part. So, it is only one. It never became two, and it cannot become two. So, that is the Advaita, Advaita, no two. Vishishta Advaita say, now again I am repeating, I am part of that one. I believe in one, but we the jivas are the part of that. Like the fire and the sparks. When the fire is burning, there will be hundreds and thousands of sparks. They go out. We have seen that. And those sparks are also having all the property of the fire. But at the same time, they are separate from the fire. That is Vishishta Advaita. And Dvaita of Madhvacharya is completely different. God is different, we are different. We can never become God. So that is thank you for the question. Let us say Shanti 3 times and we conclude. Oh, before that we have to offer the pranam to Thakur. Niranjanam nityam anantarupam bhaktanukampa dhrita vigraham vai Ishavattaram parameshamidyam Tam Ram Krishnam Shirasa Namamaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Friends, you know that many they are inquiring. So of course we announced that we will have a big program on 11th September and inaugurate the Home of Harmony. The Home of Harmony, that particular the place, now it is coming up almost complete, but due to this COVID situation, again here in America, and I heard that and read in many other parts of the world, the COVID situation is very grave, and we cannot invite people to come. That's why we had to postpone. Moreover, due to the COVID situation, the work is also very slow. We don't get proper the people to work, and the materials also very difficult. But anyway, slowly it is coming up with the blessings of Thakur and all your help. The things are coming up. Now we have to now decorate that. Inside everything is all right, but we have to purchase some different type of the furnitures to make it ready for use, so that the work is going on. Maybe, again we have to say maybe, if things are all right, next year 2022, sometime in May, June, July, we will inaugurate and we will notify you. Majority of you are having your email with us, and we send notices. You must be receiving that. Those who like to enroll with our in a Google group, where you will find all our flyers going out all the time, giving information. Please send your email address with a line that you like to be added. Then I will add your name in our Google group, and you will go on receiving that. So thank you, friends. And the last Sunday of this month, we will have a retreat. I will give that retreat, and that will be from morning 10:30 to 12:30. In between there will be question answers. Thank you. Peace, peace, peace.